LeetCode 602, friend request 2. Who has the most friends? Write a solution to find the people who have the most friends and the most friends number. The test cases are generated so that only one person has the most friends. The result format is in the following example. We're going to solve this medium LeetCode question in both SQL as well as Python Pandas, where I take you line by line of code. All right, let's start coding. Okay, so let's take a look at our example. We have the input over here, requester, acceptor, both IDs, and then we have the accepted date. And then our final output is 3 and 3 between ID and num. It says the person with ID of 3 is a friend of people 1, 2, and 4. And he has 3 friends in total, which is the most number than any others. So essentially you can see there's 3 on the requester ID, but then there's 2 3s on the acceptor ID. So we're going to have to sum 3 in the requester and then sum acceptor, combine them together. So let's start with that. Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to select our requester ID. So this one over here, that's the one we're going to start with. And then we're going to label this as ID. And then we're going to count as num. So count star as num, because we want to get the same format, right? And then we're going to say from this requested accepted. So type that out or paste it like I do. And then group by, and we're going to group by this requester ID over here. And that way we see the count for each of these. So let me just run this right now. Just make sure that I have no errors. I shouldn't, it's super basic code, but regardless, it's going to say wrong answer perfectly fine. Okay. Now what I want to do is literally just copy this, and what we're going to do is paste this down below, and we're going to change this. Instead of requester ID, we're going to put everything in acceptor ID. So just change acceptor ID up here and then acceptor ID down here. Again, just if you want to run it, awesome. If not, no worries. Okay. Now what we're going to do is do a union all. So let's put a union all in here. And the reason why we can't do just a normal union is because there's some duplicates between the ID and num, and make sure we do a union all. Okay, so let's just run that now, and we can see what some of this output is. This won't be fully correct, by the way. We still have a little bit more to do, but you can see the output now. If you run it on your own, or if I show this in the video, we have ID and num with some duplicates, which is perfect because now we can aggregate based around here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to put all this together in a from. So from, and we're going to put all this inside over here because we're going to query from that result set. So put all this in here and tab that over for formatting. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select top 1 ID because we only want to have the highest ID. We're going to do sum of the num, and we're going to say this as num, and we have to do as num because we're doing a sum over there. I'm going to just call this as subquery over here. And then what we're going to do is group by our ID. Okay. That way, because we have multiple IDs, we want to sum them up and get the total. And then we're going to order by num descending. So let me explain all this one more time. The union that we have in the center, right? We grab the requester ID, acceptor ID, make sure that they're the same format, ID and ID, num and num. On the outside over here, I'm going to query from that final result set. I'm only grabbing the top row. That's why I do top 1. And I have the ID over here. We're summing the nums because our IDs should have multiple if you're in the requester and acceptor column. So I'm summing those. I have to relabel that as num again. We're going to group by this ID over here, and then we're going to order by our number descending so that we have the highest amount of friends first. So let me just run this code, and it should be accepted. And awesome, it has been accepted. All right, let's move on to the Python code. So on the Python side of things, LeetCode gives us this most friends function. We're supposed to work with a data frame, output a data frame. So let's start with that. The first thing I'm going to do is get the counts for requested and also the accepted. So I'm just going to put requester counts over here. And then we're going to grab this table, which is requested accepted. We're going to group by. So group by. this time we're going to group by our requester ID. So throw that in over here like that. We're just gonna grab the size, and then reset our index.reset index. And I'm gonna call this name equals num. We're gonna literally copy this line once again and just paste it down below. And we're gonna change a few things. So first, we're gonna do Acceptor ID this time. So just go over here and grab that. Then I'm gonna call this Acceptor counts. So we just grab that, Acceptor counts. Okay, I've requested accepted. That's the table. Group by Acceptor ID, size, name, num. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna merge two data frames. These are new data frames, right? Requester counts and then Acceptor counts. So we're gonna merge those. I'm gonna just call this merged df. So that's gonna be equal to pd.merge like that. Okay. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put requester counts first. Then we're going to do our Acceptor counts. So throw that in here next. We're going to do left on the ID. So left on requester ID. So requester ID. That. And then right on. So right on equals. And then put your Acceptor ID. Okay. And then we're going to do an outer. So how equals outer. Okay, awesome. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to fill all of our NAs to 0. The reason why we're going to have some NAs specifically as someone isn't in the requester or Acceptor columns. So let's do that really quick. So merged df, and our num is going to be duplicated. So, and I do have an error real quick. So let me fix that. So our num is going to be duplicated. We're going to have a num x and a num y. So num x equals, oh, it should be just fill an A. We can just that. So fill an A 0, and then in place equals true. In place equals true like that. But we're going to do the same thing for num y. So just copy that over here. Grab num y. Fill an A in place equals true. And also I want to do this for our ID. So what we're going to do is same thing. So let's just go over here, merge df, and we're going to grab one of our IDs. This one I'm going to grab, well, actually I'm going to make a new column. So let me just, because I'll have to rename it anyways a little bit later. So I'm going to just say merge df. I'm going to call this ID because we have our different IDs, right? And we're going to say that's equal to merged df over here. Then we're going to grab our requester ID. So, and then what we're going to say is if there's any NAs, so fill NA, then we're going to put in our Acceptor ID. So grab that, and we're going to say merge df. Well, I guess I could just do this. Let me explain this code in a second. All right, this one line of code, essentially we're creating a new ID column because we have requester and Acceptor IDs. So I'm going to say that's equal to merge df. We're going to first look at the requester ID. If that's null, then we put an Acceptor ID. Again, that's just because sometimes you won't have the number on both sides. All right. And that's why I'm building a new column rather than just doing this fill NA. Next, what we're going to do is find our num in general. So we're going to say merged df, throw num, and we're going to say that's equal to merged df num x plus, and then we're going to have merge df num y. That's awesome. And then we're going to sort our values. So we need to have the highest first. So we're going to do merge df again. We're going to do sort values, and we're going to say by equals num like that. Ascending equals false, ascending equals false. And we're going to do in place equals true. And then lastly, we're going to return our data frame. So return merge df here, ID and num, those two columns, again from earlier from the SQL side of things. And we need to do the top row. So head one. So let me just run this to make sure we have no typos. It's really easy to do. And I do have a runtime error. So let me just see what I have on that. Well, that's because I have a space here on this Acceptor ID. We will run that again. It's been accepted. So let me explain this one more time. And also, I know this works because I submitted it before. We're getting our counts for requested and accepted. So grab those two lines right here, table, right, or data frame requested, accepted, group by the specific ID. Then we're grabbing the size and then reset index. We call them nums. Then we're merging the data frames that we just created together. We're doing an outer. That way we can sum this up a little bit later. We're going to fill any NA values with 0. Then we're going to go in here and have an ID column. This is going to be originally a requester ID, but if that's blank, we grab our acceptor ID. That's because the IDs aren't always in both columns. Lastly, we grab the num, which is just the sum of the number in the accepted, the number in the requested. We sort values by num being the highest, ascending false, so that way we have the highest in place. We do in place equals true because we didn't have merge df equal. Just put that there. And then return merge df. We just want the ID and num columns. And that is this question. The SQL is much easier than the Python, I thought. So that was question 602. Hope you guys were able to solve it. And if you are, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm uploading multiple videos every single week. Not just LeetCode though. I have a lot of other playlists, whether you're brand new to Python or you want to learn a little bit of machine learning. And I have a ton of projects here. But if you are still studying LeetCode questions, I have a full playlist and other videos down below in the description, as well as right up over here.